Most people use the salt that you just pour out of the bottle, a Morton salt, which actually isn't even sea salt. It's a highly processed salt. When you're ingesting highly processed salt, it really is just ingesting chemicals for the most part that has flavor.
We've been trained to believe that our salt should be pure white, should be free-flowing, should never absorb any form of water, and that's just better living through industry. It's not what salt wants to do. Salt wants to react with water. It wants to form crystals. It wants to clump. It wants to have a lot of fun in the world, and we don't let it do that. People are missing out on the texture that salt can have, on the fullness, on the boldness that salt can have, just the nuances. Salt can and should be a full repertoire of hundreds of different flavors, not just a very, very thin metallic tasting substance that most of us have gotten used to having.
Amagansett Sea Salt Company is an artisanal sea salt company which we hand make with Amagansett ocean water that we filter, solar evaporate, and package into sea salt. My husband and I started this company. We had always really enjoyed sea salts, and we traveled around the world, and we've tasted sea salt from around the world, and we spent a lot of time here in Amagansett. We started making sea salt as a hobby about 10 years ago, and then we started doing it on a larger scale 3 years ago.
Hi, I'm Steven Judelson. We are at my salt farm, my sea salt farm in Amagansett, New York. I have about 480 gallon worth of capacity of solar evaporating. And I have this spread out in what I call evaporator trays. So from the water that we take in the beach, they sit here. We first filter and then we decant off a clean seawater. The sediment is sand, it's silt, it's algae, it's plankton. Generally, there's a sweet spot in around 2 to 3 days. There's a sweet spot. It has settled down and we're able to filter out everything that we don't want. So yes, this is the backbreaking work. I put about a gallon in each. The evaporation is a function, or at least solar evaporation, is a function of temperature, surface area, and wind velocity. The water, which right now in these is about 2.5% to 3% salt, is going to get much more concentrated. It's just going to get more and more and more, which we have some down this way. So I'm going to take a walk down there. These have been sitting here in these trays about 10 days. What started out has now concentrated and crystals are forming. What is neat though are the forms. Salts want to form into these rectilinear shapes that actually crack apart, they break apart. Our table salts and kosher salts even, it's an artificially formed crystal. It's not doing what it was meant to do on its own, namely form these nice little soft crystals. Salt
is absolutely not just salt. It tastes different from different places, different oceans, how it's processed, whether it's been through a drying process or whether it's completely naturally made. But it definitely tastes different. It also tastes different at different times of the year. What I have always looked for in a salt is something that has a sweet flavor that mellows out on the bite and also has a very nice crunch on your teeth. That's part of the flavor of sea salt to me. I am very biased when it comes to sea salt. I think that our ocean water out here on Long Island in Amagansett is so pure and clean, and it gives just a very clean, pure flavor to the salt.
So this is cutting the salt off. I try to think of it not as a scraping, but cutting it off. So this is today's harvest. This is about 20-25 pounds of sea salt. It's been out here for about 2 weeks' time. It started out as 120 gallons of seawater, to which we added about another 50 gallons. So this is about 170 gallons worth of raw product coming up to this.
You know you have good salt when you have to either use your fingers or a salt spoon to spread the salt. Coming up with the flavor blends has been amazingly fun. We name our blends for different towns out here. This is our Far East End blend. It's our sea salt with nori, wakame, and toasted sesame seeds. This is our Bridgehampton blend, which is our sea salt with dill and fennel. The top two most popular blends would be in the summertime our Montauk blend, which is the lemon salt, and probably the East Hampton blend, which is our salt with herbe de Provence. Right now our sea salt company is producing between 50 and 80 pounds of salt a week. We would really like to expand that a little bit more, but for us, we would really like to keep the by hand aesthetic as part of our salt making. We really feel it's important to the taste and the quality of our salt. We use our salts as a finishing salt, not as a salt that you would cook with. So at the end, if you sprinkle on a little bit of sea salt, specifically our sea salt, it really transforms the entire flavor of whatever it is that you're eating into something amazing with very little effort. I am very proud of my husband for creating these amazing solar evaporators and for really listening to me when I was buzzing in his ear about taking on this crazy project and just taking the leap of faith with me. If people use our salt correctly, it will last them a long time. For me, I'm a salt fanatic, so I go through a 1-ounce jar probably a week.
What have you always wanted to do and you haven't had a chance to do yet? And I just blurted out, I want to build a wooden boat.